Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Very warm welcome to all the members present here for today's session. So before we start our session, I request our chairman to please escort today's speaker, S. Sundaresan, and present a bouquet on behalf of Bangalore branch. Small introduction about today's speaker. S. Sundaresan is a partner in Deloitte Haskins and Sells LLP. He has more than 32 years of professional experience. He has handled audit and assurance services of large listed companies as well as SMEs. He has extensive experience in cross-border reporting for multinational companies under IFRS. He has experience in providing services across a wide spectrum of industries like technology and telecom, FMCG, manufacturing and banking and finance, etc. He has also involved in group audits through global shared service environment. Sundaresan has also led other services to clients including internal audits, control assurance services, SOX compliances, due diligence reviews, valuation, etc. He is a member of Financial Reporting Review Group of FRRB of ICAI for the past several years. He is a regular speaker on professional forums on accounting, auditing, company law and corporate governance. So with this brief introduction, I welcome you sir for today's session and over to you sir.
Thanks to the rain, I think your lesser number of members, okay, that's fine actually. It's like a topic which is in respect of going concern which is absent. We have more absent seats here than present. Just start with, I was reading this topic. I think a lot of people have told me this is the first time they have actually seen a topic like this. Okay? I don't know who chose it. In fact, very good. So I myself was trying to interpret what this topic means. Okay, so it is actually a topic which is of great relevance. What's happening now, and I will also actually deal with it. Why this topic is very relevant. Okay, and it's very easy. Going concern absent. If a going concern is absent or not, it is a matter of a judgment. For instance, if I ask you that all of us present here, how many people are physically present here? Okay. How many people are physically present here? Is it easy to answer? If I ask you how many people are physically present here, it's easy to answer. You have to just come and see how many are there. It's a matter of fact. If I ask you how many people are mentally present here, okay, it's a matter of guesswork. Okay, so it's similar to that actually. It's not easy. If going concern is present or absent, lot of cases it's not a matter of problem, but significant amount of companies, it is a matter of judgment whether going concern is absent or not. There is very few cases in my practical experience, very few cases where the going concern is absolutely absent, or even if it is absent, the financial statements are prepared on a basis the going concern is absent. Okay, it's very few cases. Even the company is going to be dissolved, even if bankruptcy law has now come. If you look at all the insolvency petitions, the insolvency cases which is going on, the banks want to sell the assets on a going concern basis. For a simple thing, you must be hearing in the papers for the past so many days on Jet Airways. The whole issue is, do you want to sell the Jet Airways as a going concern or Jet Airways as a closed concern? Okay, there is a lot of difference, hell of a difference in the valuation of their company. Okay, they want to have the company in a a going concern basis in some manner, because it has to protect the routes which are there. They don't want the routes to be cancelled, otherwise there is no value and the bankers will lose more. So it's a question of whether I want to introduce another 1,000 crores and sell it as a going concern or not. That was a big debate the bankers were going through in the past 1 week, and they decided, no, we don't want to put in more money into this, and we will try to sell it as it is. Okay? Because they didn't get a good suitor for Jet Airways to take over with a valuation which will be very useful to them. Okay? So it is a matter which is very, very relevant. Okay? Now, apart from this, there are a couple of things which has happened in the recent past which has made going concern very important. Going concern absent is not an easy thing. Going concern absent, if something is going, somebody has decided to close the company, comes and tells you, I have decided to liquidate the company, it's very easy to handle it. It's not a problem. I have got some slide on it what to do, because there is no literature on it. So it's not a big problem. The company has decided they will close, and you are supposed to report on it. That's not such a big problem. But it's almost 90% of the cases are not like that. 95% of the cases. Okay? 95% is like somebody is serious. He is not declared not livable. You go to the doctor and doctor tells, when does the doctor tells, I put them in a ventilation, when do you want to remove the ventilation? If he comes and asks you, that is the stage the patient is gone. Okay? That is exactly the stages a going concern absent company will be. But that doesn't happen. That happens in the end. There is a lot of time in between where there is a material uncertainty, which we call them, whether the company can survive or not survive. That is where we as auditors deal with them, we as accountants prepare financial statements, and that's where most of the companies are. A lot of companies are there. Now, why this going concern has become very important? Okay, this is the slide with the present or absent. Okay, because I thought I would deal with the subject. It's a matter of judgment. A matter that could be different views, options, different conclusions. Rarely or finality unless the company has decided to wind up operation and has been ordered liquidation. Only in that case is their final look, I am going to be on a going concern basis. Even in bankruptcy proceedings, there are a number of bankruptcy or liquidation proceedings which is happening with NCLT, and they have appointed the liquidator and all those things, or they appointed the professional for this one. So there are about 20-30 of them. Most of them they want to sell as going concern. Okay? So even under the liquidation proceedings, the companies are sought to be sold as going concern. It's a very simple thing. If there is a huge difference in the valuation of a company as a going concern, a company which is closed or going to be wound up. Okay? The liquidation value of a company or an asset is very rare, very low, sorry, it's very low. Okay? So no one wants anything to be a closed concern. They want to survive the company as a going concern. The bankers also want to be a going concern so that they can get a better valuation. Okay? So, for instance, I'll give you an example what happened. Reserve Bank of India came out with a circular in February 2018 saying that no more this restructuring. Okay? We have been doing it for 15 years. We will not do any restructuring. If the company is a defaulter and wait for the 90 days, you start the insolvency proceedings. That was the circular. Now that circular was the government itself. There is sectors where the borrowers are affected not because of their own fault, because of the fault of the government or government agencies. For instance, fertilizer companies, they were affected by the subsidies not being received. The huge power industry, it was all affected because of the government not paying them the power dues, government not honoring the pricing agreement which they entered into with those companies and not paying them. Okay, so because of that the power company got affected. So the government itself went to the RBI and said, look, we want a waiver for power industry in this. Okay? Till the end, RBI did not allow it. Okay, recently last week, the whole circular has been declared by Supreme Court as null and void, because they said the RBI cannot give a wholesale circular to say that everything has to be referred to insolvency proceeding. They should use their power case by case basis. That's what the law says. But they have sent it back. They say it's not valid. Okay. So there is a yes.
Suppose the lending bank
Yes.
chooses to apply to NCLT on the 91st day.
Yes.
I don't think Supreme Court can stop that.
No.
In the case of at least the
Supreme Court, so the bank has got its own thing. If it is under the law, they can do that. The Reserve Bank of the circular has forced all the banks they must do it. That they have said it's not as per the liquidation law. The law says on a case by case basis. So the Reserve Bank is actually working on a revised circular which will fulfill the law. So they will give various parameters and other things and ask the banks to do it. Okay, it will happen. But they refuse the government's thing on power sector that they don't want. Not only the government, none of the banks who lend to the power sector have even classified their assets as NPA. I have a company. 2 years they have not repaid. The projects are going on, their projects are being finished, they have a default. There are 2 directors of the bank on the board of the company. When we ask them, you said it's an NPA, there are issues and all. We are looking at going concern of the company. They say, no, we are a standard asset. We are a standard asset. So the 2 people were on the board of the bank. People. So we made the bank, the board people to confirm that it is not an NPA, that they will not start proceedings, they will go to the court, they will say that it is not NPA, all kinds of things. We made them to even writing, they gave. But still we put a note on the going concern, but in a different way, slightly different way what we should have done the thing, because they said we don't want to call it material uncertainty. The bank said don't call it as a material uncertainty because we will still fund it. We have funded it, we will not revoke insolvency proceedings. Okay, and we will ensure that all those things they did. Okay, now I think that thing is sustained. For instance, this happened 6 months back. Now that the circular has been held null and void, so it is for that it will give liberty to the bank to do things which they can do. We have to wait for the RBI circular. Okay, so the thing is, everyone wants the companies to be going concern as much as possible. They want to save the patient as much as possible, like a doctor will do, or we will do with our relatives and all, till the last minute, whatever is possible, whatever kind of treatment, same way everyone wants to do with the company. Because if it is not a going concern, there is a huge reduction in the valuation. That's the main reason. Okay. Now what is going concern? Because going concern is, you will not find any accounts saying that the accounts are prepared on a going concern basis. There is no need. None of the accounting policies will say it's prepared on a going concern basis. Very rarely. It will be there, but not necessary to state that. Why? Because there are fundamental assumptions based on these financial statements are prepared. Going concern is one of them. Okay, so if it is prepared on a going concern basis, there is no need to disclose. Okay, now it is assumed. What is it assumed on a going concern basis? Going concern basis is the company will continue its operation as it is for the foreseeable future. Now, what is the foreseeable future? It's not defined. It's not defined in accounting standards. So we have to go back to our auditing thing. SA 570 discusses, and similarly the auditing standards are there. As far as the financial statements are concerned, it says it's 12 months from the date of the financial statements. Date of the financial statement is as per SA 560, which says the date on which the final date on which the balance sheet is prepared is to be considered as the date of the financial statements. Okay, so it is to be looked at from the date of the financial statement, that is the year end. Okay. Now on a practical basis, if you are already delayed, you are preparing the financial financial statement 5 months down the line, it's advisable to look at the going concern basis 12 months from the date when you are closing the financial statement, because you know what is the status of the company as on that date. At least for the company knows what is their status, and look at it 1 year down. Okay, it's advisable. Even though the theory I can say it is only 12 months from the date on the financial statement, it's advisable to look at it 1 year from the date in which the financial statements are issued. Okay, even though the standard doesn't require. So we are looking at foreseeable future, which is at the most 12 months. Because it's very difficult, even the 12 months is very difficult to predict the cash flows, whether they will be able to fulfill the cash flow outflows and they have enough money to fulfill the cash flows, but the company is in problems, lots of issues, a lot of judgment. Okay, so we are not giving any certificate whether the company will survive for the next 12 months. Okay, it is only we are looking at it for the 12 months to conclude that as of today, preparation of going concern is an appropriate basis to prepare the financial statement. So whatever is the conclusion drawn is the evidences and the supportings which are available at the date in which the decision is made. And it is clear, the standard also says that subsequently the decision could change. After 1 month after I give the financial statement, the things could be different. You cannot fault it. It's happening in many cases. Okay, so whatever is the status which are based on which I take today, that could become adverse 1 year down the line or 1 month down the line. Okay, it's understood subsequent events could be different. In fact, they specifically mentioned the standard subsequent events could be different and it could become adverse the conclusions drawn. Okay, these are the things which have been put because otherwise it's difficult for us. Any failure will be deemed that it's already happening. It is already happening in many cases. How did the auditor say it's a going concern? Okay, the company has got a very nice balance sheet, but they defaulted on some loans. So there is an asset liability mismanagement. It doesn't work. Some cash flow didn't come, they couldn't pay the loan. So immediately there are issues. So they are looking at what the auditor is doing. But it has to be understood that whatever the accounts are finalized as on that date, subsequent flows could change. Okay, that's understood that the reader of the financial statement should understand. Possibly we should be very clear and whenever there are issues, we should put it up in the accounts itself.
Sir, there is a solvency ratio called the Z-score.
Yes.
So the date of the financial statement closure, we prepare the Z-score.
Yes.
And I think there are some guidances like it should not be minus 1.81 or something like that. So suppose we reach a conclusion based on that Z-score that it's a hopeless case, but they say no, our sponsors or holding company will inject funds. Then we may have to get some sort of a written commitment from the holding company or other proof of material to prove that particular statement, and then we can control, right?
It's possible. See, for instance, the important thing for a going concern is cash flow. It's not the profit or loss. You can be in losses, it can be negative net worth also possibly, but so long as you have funded it for the next 1 year, the cash flows which are required, then it's clear that it could be on a going concern basis. Many times the company may be at a loss, it could be a subsidiary of a parent company, the parent company. So what happens in that case? We get a comfort letter, what we call as a comfort letter, that's a standard practice where the holding company will give it to the subsidiary, that they will confirm, they will ensure that the subsidiary meets its cash flow as when it required, whatever is the cash flow required, they will fund it. But as an auditor, we have to ensure that the holding company is in a position to fund it. For instance, the holding company itself is bankrupt. What do you do? Okay, so as an auditor, we need to ensure there are adequate precautions taken. We need to look at that whether the holding company has got in a position to pay and the funds are, and they have done it in the past. Okay, suddenly they should not pull the plug and say we are not interested, we will go out of India. Okay, so it is possible. Okay, even otherwise, for instance, you could have funded, you could have got loans. Okay, so the loans could have been tied up. You could have got written commitment from the banks. Yes, we will fund it. Okay, So there are various things which could come. It's a matter of judgment. It's not necessary the company should be profitable. For instance, most of the startups which have got multiples of valuation, they're all in the losses. Okay, they are all losses. You go there, you won't see. Even Amazon is making profit now only. It's not made profit for a long time, but it's one of the highest valued company in the world. Okay, so it's all to do with cash flows. Okay, that's the most important thing. Now, why is this going concern? I would say it has got an enhanced importance now. Okay, the first thing is a new requirement in the auditing standard, audit reporting standard in SA 700. Till now, we were not telling in our report that I am looking at a going concern. Okay, even though my auditing standard says that I look at it, but now I have to specifically report from this year, 31st March 2019. Okay, this is the wordings which are supposed to be there, which are there in the thing. The exact wordings is like this. In one of the things, in our responsibility, we say we conclude the appropriateness of the management's use of going concern basis of accounting, and based on the audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the company's ability to continue as a going concern. And then we continue. If we conclude that the material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in our auditor's report to the related disclosure of the financial statement, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Okay? Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained to the date of our auditor's report. However, future events, conditions may cause the company to cease to continue as a going concern. Okay, this is the wordings which is there, which is supposed to be included in the audit report. The standard format of the audit report as SA 700, which has changed. Okay, our responsibility has not changed; it was already there. But the moment you put it down positively in the audit report, okay, it casts additional responsibility on us, because everyone is reading it right. You have a responsibility. Okay, now if you read it. Management responsibility, I'll tell you what is the management responsibility down. That is also added. That is also a new thing which is added in the report. You read both together. There is a small catch. Management is responsible for assessing the company's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as applicable matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting, unless management either intends to liquidate the company or to cease the operation, or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Okay, so this is a management responsibility. But there is a catch there, because the management responsibility doesn't say that if you read the wordings, unless the management has intends to liquidate or has no realistic alternative but to do so. Now this realistic alternative, they always the management say, I want realistic alternative to continue as going concern. Okay, existing. So the management thing is slightly lower level, and we are supposed to have a higher level of what you will call a review in respect of going concern of what management has concluded. I've got some slides on it, what we should be doing that. Okay, so because of this change in the reporting, additional reporting which you are doing in the audit report, going concern has become an important auditing issue which we need to concentrate. Okay, the standards have not changed, but the standard of reporting has changed. The moment I put our thing on the table and tell the whole world, look, this is what I am supposed to do, then you better do it. You concentrate more. Okay? Now, the other important thing which has happened is the change in the insolvency and bankruptcy law in our country. What has happened? If you see the insolvency and bankruptcy law, it's quite severe. If there is a default, even over one installment of a loan, it becomes a default. And then the insolvency law kicks in. And the Reserve Bank of India, what it has done, it has just don't want any restructuring being done. The February circular was that. But afterward they have gone and amended it. The government has pleaded with MSME and other things, you can't have this kind of a thing. So they have gone and amended in MSME, but they say we will not give sectoral exemptions. Anyway, now the Supreme Court has shot down the circular, they will come back with the circular, but the intention of RBI is clear. They don't want to prolong the debt. They don't want, they are very clear, the law is there, now we will make use of the law. So the law is that you change the management, change whatever you want to do in the company, sell the company if you need to be, change the management, change the owner, you get your money. Okay, so the law is quite helpful. If the process is on, we have already seen a few of them, it's happening, huge big things which are being changed hands. Okay, so we have the law. Okay, the law is there and the Reserve Bank's intention is not to do a lot of restructuring. So means the going concern issue is much sooner than what we had in the past. Because in the past, for the 15 years, they will do some restructuring or the other. You will start with CDR, SDR, you have seen so many of them, although most of them were not successful. There were hardly any 5% or something would have been a success rate, which is a thing. But nothing was successful, so the RBI has gone to the other extreme, they said no restructuring. Okay, they will come out with a revised circular, but I am sure they will put a lot of guidance to the banks to avoid what they call it as every time evergreening the loan or postponing the payments and other things. So unless there is a clear-cut restructuring possible, they will discourage the banks to do so. So because of this, the going concern issue for any borrower has come much earlier than it was. So it has become a reality. Okay, we have seen cases, the company has got a very good balance sheet. They have defaulted on loan payments. So immediately the insolvency law kicks in. There is a default. So they say just stand it for a few months, you will have an issue. Okay, so which have become an important thing to look at. Going concern is an important thing to look at. It has become enhanced important. Now, is this going concern absence happens at a particular point of time, or it's so clear? Can I just come and today say, from today onward this is not a going concern? Is it clear? Will it happen like this? Or a cut-off? We will make it a discussion, okay? I think you have more experience, will be there. Does it happen that way?
As we understood that, the concept of going concern has a lot to do with cash flows. So as on a particular date, it may appear as if it is starved of funds and therefore the going concern question is at stake. But suddenly either a suitor is wanting to invest because of whatever value he thinks, or your lenders are happy to give you exposure, or your sponsor holding company wants to inject funds. Like Tata Teleservices had been
so long back. Even yesterday they have spent some 3,500 crore to the government. So if someone is there, like a father sending money to his son in the hostel, so the company can continue to be a going concern, even though it's a negative net worth, negative cash flow, negative profit, EBITDA companies. So it is as at a particular point of time, in my view. Yes, anyone else has got anything? No, at a particular point of time you have to decide whether it's a going concern. Okay, I'm not asking whether the going concern absence will happen at a particular point of time or over a period of time.
But the deterioration in the situation happens only
over a period of time. So when things happen over a period of time, it's so difficult for us to say at what point of time going concern is absent. Okay, so it is a matter of a judgment. It's so very difficult. Like what he was saying was right. Even everything has gone. I have got a useless balance sheet. If somebody says I will fund it, means the going concern is still there. It's not absent. Somebody says, look, I will fund it. Okay, so it's a very rarely you find only in cases where the management has decided to close the company or liquidate a company. For instance, I have a company. They are into food processing or something like that. They came to India, they invested, it's not a big business. They tried for 3-4 years, they didn't get a proper business. So they said, no, we are just closing down. They're just closing down the business. They sold off the machinery, they sold off the things. Only they are continuing because there are some tax cases to be ensured, the tax assessment has to be done. So I am actually preparing the accounts on a closer basis because the company has decided to close the operations. They have sold their thing. So I have a very proper balance sheet, nothing is there. My audit fees will come, something else will be there, and tax cases, assessments are pending, not even a contingent liability. But they said we will keep the company until the assessments are over, we get a clean order. So it's a classic case where the company is closed. It's a closed going concern. Okay, we put a clear note that this is prepared on this basis. Okay, and they give a UN paragraph that to highlight that it is prepared on a non-going concern basis. Okay, but very rarely that thing happens. Such a thing happens. People want to sell the company as a going concern, so they will prepare the accounts on a going concern basis, even though there is a material uncertainty of a going concern. Okay? This absence happens over a period of time, it doesn't happen.
The recent case was that of Kingfisher Airlines.
Yes.
We discussed the open points from the
Yes.
Kingfisher Airlines.
Yes.
What really happened that time was, auditor had the guts to say it cannot fly. So that's where a judgment came. I think otherwise it would not have.
No, the auditor at
There
that
are
time,
so many.
by the time the Kingfisher was dead. Anyway, see what happens is, the airline industry is very simple. So long as they can fund their working capital, they can survive. For a jet is still survived, still some time back. So long as a fuel guy is giving you a fuel, okay, you can survive. Kingfisher did not pay the fuel charges, okay. So they pulled the plug, they said we will not supply fuel hereafter, okay, beyond a particular level. That's it. If there is no fuel, you can't run the aircraft. It has to be grounded. There is absolutely nothing else you can do. Okay, yeah, the auditor said that, but at that point of time, it was almost there. That is what is, because it's difficult. The earlier year, if you take, the financial position as was as that particular year. But the earlier year, they had a lot of things which is funded kind of thing on their working capital. Okay, they don't pay the wages, they will pay the other things. Okay, for instance, Jet has not paid the salaries for the last 6 months. Okay, so there are issues, but they try to put it the last minute. So, and when does the auditor has to put that note on the material uncertainty? Now it has become difficult. Previously, I should put a EOM paragraph. It will get not highlighted. Now I have to put a separate paragraph with a heading called material uncertainty in respect of going concern. I will just put that paragraph. So the resistance of that paragraph is very high in respect of many companies. And practically I have faced those difficulties. He said, don't do anything, you put this paragraph, don't call it material uncertainty. So the word material uncertainty, they want to avoid. Okay, so it's there, but the thing has changed, so we have to say, look, I have to put it because this is the standard says this wording, I can't change anything. So we are turning. Okay, but
Sir,
most,
on the external confirmation
Yeah.
to funds infusion, you said we will get letters of comfort from the sponsors. But letters of comfort are not is intercorporate loans kind of a commitment to under section 186 or it is a letter signed by the board which has no legal sanction, right?
yeah, so what we will do, so I'll tell you what used to happen in the past. See, we used to put a UIM paragraph referring to the letter of comfort. Now what can happen is, if the letter of comfort is not a reliable thing, you believe that it is not reliable, it is not kind of a thing, you put the note, the company will put a note why they are preparing the accounts on a going concern basis. We can put a paragraph on material uncertainty, but we can still agree it is prepared on a going concern basis for the reasons which are specified. So that it is clear whoever is the reader of the financial statement that there is a material uncertainty. The going concern depends on the funding which is to be come from the parent company. He knows, he understands. Whoever is the reader of the, I think that should be an option. That should be an option kind of a thing there.
So it means it sounds as if the auditor has no objection, the leader has to decide for himself. Is that right?
Not exactly. The auditor has raised an objection. Auditor has flagged off the material uncertainty in his report. Okay? Auditor has pointed out that look, this parent company has given a letter of comfort to fund it. Okay? On that basis, this has been prepared.
But it is not through the resolution passed by the board.
Yeah, whatever comfort you want to derive as an auditor, get it from the government. If you are not happy with the thing, you have to say that it is not done on the basis. So see, the going concern is a lot to do with a disclosure rather than on the thing. Because what happens in a going concern is there are only two options. Whether you prepare account on a going concern basis or on a closure basis. Okay? Now, going concern basis is appropriate, but there is a in-between thing called a material uncertainty. There is a lot of condition involved. So the whole accounting says, look, these conditions, material uncertainty, put it clearly in the note. The reader can read it and he can make a judgment what he wants to do. Either he can be an investor, he can be dealing with a company, he knows what is the thing there. So you put it the disclosure. Because it's like, just take somebody who is in a ICU.
Like in ILFS case, all these NCD holders, what options do they have? Like, they can't vote at the general meetings. They are unsecured creditors. So, their only option is to get the company liquidated and so that the creditors meeting can happen for the dividends.
Now we have a law. We have an insolvency law. So you can do that. But believe me, the insolvency law, if you don't have an asset which can be realized immediately, it's not going to give you anything. The amount of haircut, I would say head cut the banks are taken on insolvency law is very high. It's about, first thing they go to the insolvency law, it's at 50% you have to provide us. Done. Now then another 50, then another 50, how much you recover? It's a question of 30, 40, so people have written off 80% and all, many of them. Okay, so insolvency law helps you to close it, but bankers, as a banker, you need to take a prudence. What is the situation? What is the thing which has happened? Do you want to go to the insolvency proceeding or do something else to recover? It's a matter of judgment what the bankers have to do. Okay.
This 570 talks about the impact on the auditor's report.
Yes.
One is giving an adverse opinion where the going concern is inappropriate.
Yes.
Another one is material uncertainty exists, but there is proper disclosure.
Yes.
So
I will just come to it briefly. I have got some slide on it briefly. Those are very clear what is to be done. Okay. Now we have done, I say 570 is the standard which deals with going concern. Now what is the process to follow in SA 570? It says any company, most of the companies where there is no going concern issue, but still as a process you have to follow now. It is very important you follow it because you are reporting on all the reports now. So what we need to do is we need to ask the management to do an assessment of going concern is appropriate with whatever data is there. It should be, most of the companies should be easy because they are all doing well and everything, cash flow and everything. So you can do that. Where there are issues, it's important they do an assessment. They prepare what is their plan, what is the cash flow. For instance, we used to get a cash flow for the year before. Now we are asking for a cash flow on a month-on-month basis. Because we are saying that are you able to pay the installments of the loan as and when they fall due? So for that you have to be more granular. You should get how these installments will be funded. So the cash flow which you are requiring is much more granular. Okay? So management is ultimately responsible for the financial statement. So they have to conclude the going concern is appropriate. It is their responsibility also. Okay, it's not just the auditor's responsibility. It is mainly first the management's responsibility because they have more information with them. They know what is their strategy. They know what the funding they are looking at. They know what kind of a cash flow they are expecting. Okay, they are in a better position to judge. So then disclose when there is a material uncertainty exists with the details in financial. Even the disclosure of material uncertainty is their responsibility. Okay? Because they are preparing the accounts under the law. They are responsible. Now what are the auditors to do? Auditors to evaluate the appropriateness with the underlying evidence and in case of material uncertainty, ensure appropriate disclosure in accounts and also report as required in the standard. We will deal with the details. That's what the auditor is supposed to do. Okay? Now briefly I will put in what all cases where this can happen, going concern issue can happen. Okay? The trigger points which you can call it. So the standard itself puts into account a lot of cases. Okay? The first, financial. The first thing is financial. The financial is the indicator of what is going to happen in the company. The first red flag is net current liability. Net liability, in the sense current liability is more than the current assets. So that means what? As and when the liabilities mature or the liability is to pay, I may not have money to pay the liabilities. Okay, so there is a situation, there is a problem. Okay, for instance, the next 1 year installment of loans are sitting in current liabilities. Very important thing. So when they become due, I may not have cash to pay because I don't have a current assets to pay actually. Okay, so there is a trigger. You may still be fine if you can do how the funding will take place, there is an additional funding, all those things. But it's a trigger point. Maturities of loan without a realistic manner of repayment of funds. This is an important thing which has happened. If most of the finance companies which are into lending, it's a basic problem in India. The problem with the banks, what has happened is they are doing a long-term loans. There is a long-term things where the cash flow will come over a period of 10 years, 15 years. But there is no corresponding funding for the 10 to 15 years. So the funding is done based on some debentures, 3 years, 5 years, which every time they will renew it or they go with the debentures. If they can't go, there is a problem. So there is a asset liability mismatch in the especially in financial sector. Okay, so that's very important. So when you need to have the thing which will match with each other. Okay, so that is a big trigger. Withdrawal of key financial support. For instance, if you are doing a project, if you are doing something, for instance, Jet Airways is dying because lenders have said, I am not going to put any money. That's it. It's a final nail on Jet Airways. Okay, so they say we will go away. Then the promoter was telling, I will come with funding. At some point of time, they say we are not interested. All are not interested because they believe with the insolvency proceedings, they can take over the company at much cheaper rate. It's all to do with strategy. Okay, so it becomes a Jet Airways there is a problem with going concern absence. Continuous losses and negative operating cash flows. Cash flows is very important. You have consistent negative operating cash flow. There is a challenge. For instance, a lot of startup companies and new sector companies, the losses can be there, but they would have tied up the funding. They would have tied up round 1, round 2, round 3. Private equity guys would have said, I will pay you this much, this much, this much. That's why companies are winning. Flipkart didn't make money, but they sold at a very high price because they got funded. Even though they were making losses, they were funded. Okay, so funding is important, cash flow is important. Inability to comply with the loan agreements, that's very, very critical nowadays because the bankers have got enormous power to invoke insolvency proceedings. Okay, so that is a big trigger. Operating reasons which could trigger going concern issue. Management's intent to cease to liquidate. That's very clear. The management decides, look, I am not going to go ahead with this company, go ahead with this business. That's a clear indication that at some point of time it will be there. Even though the company will continue, but they say we don't want. Okay? Loss of key market, customers, principal suppliers. These are all reasons which could be there specifically. Suppose I have got only one, say I am supplying one thing to railways. My product is only for railways. I lose the railways contracts. I am not getting any contracts. Nothing, you have to close shop. Nothing else you can do. Only the railways buy it. Or as, for instance, I supply parts for aircraft. Normally you supply to one of them, either Airbus or Boeing. If both of them are not giving you a contract, there is no option but to sell the company to someone else. So these could be triggers, depending on kind of thing. The other thing will be principal suppliers. For instance, if I have got something which is an important raw material has to come from somewhere and the raw material has stopped, there is an issue. Or even if there is a problem with the principal supply price. For instance, the classic example is power sector. Many of the power companies opened up at the time the coal price was X, say 100 rupees. Okay? Coal forms part 90% of the operating cost of a power plant. Okay, 90%. Okay, the other cost is 10% only. The coal prices doubled after the project was completed. The entire projects are unviable. Okay, the classic example, there is a Tata's and ESA projects in Gujarat. Tata's are still telling them, you take this power plant at 1 rupee. We don't want to run it. Because the whole project became unviable because the coal price increased double. It happens because of some specific reason which is not connected with India. Indonesia has got various coal mines. Suddenly they decided, no, this coal mines will not be available for foreigners to be exploited. It has to be by the Indonesian people. Suddenly they have to exploit and export. They just doubled, the coal price doubled within a matter of 6 months. The whole project became unviable. Okay, so the project was completed itself, it was not a going concern. The project closed the stage. Okay, these are classic examples. So anything can trigger going concern. It's a very tricky thing. It's not just finance. Labor issues which may not be easily resolvable. I know companies which went into some of the tax-free places, but they couldn't sustain because of labor issues. For instance, there are companies which have got factories there and factories in another big location. So the guy started, no, your salary there is 10,000 rupees, I also want 10,000 rupees. So they say the whole model is not sustainable, they can close the place. Okay, so even labor issues could be an issue, trigger going concern. Shortage of raw materials, as I told you, coal, it's not a shortage, the prices shot up, so it became unviable. Emergence of highly successful competitor. Can anybody give an example? Geo. I've got a case study. Just see Geo. Geo is a very strong company, reliant with huge cash. Okay, they came into the market. They went only for 4G. The 4G, they bought a company which had taken all India 4G license, which was only 3,500 or 4,000 crore. Because at that time, when the 4G was auctioned, nobody went for the 4G. They felt it is too, it's not going to be useful. It is for data. Data will take a lot of time to evolve. So the company got at a pittance, 4,000 crore, and Reliance took it over. Okay, so whereas all the other operators, they got 2G license, 3G license, 4G license, all of them they are paying even today. Okay, and this guy's Geo has a clear focus on data. They come out with a new technology and then sell the whole thing, sell the phone, sell the market at a much cheaper price, and they say they are making profits from second year onwards. Now what happens to their competitors? They have to reduce the price. The way the whole telecom sector works, there is nothing called pricing. This is my cost, this should be the price, nothing. Most of the pricing till now has worked because of competitor. The competitor puts the price, you also try to match it. That's why most of the companies have gone. Okay? So there is no rationale. Okay? So now what happens with their competitors and others? So imagine, two of the big companies have to merge to become competitive. Okay, otherwise they will not be going concern. Okay, so a strong, successful competitor could trigger going concern for your company, even though you are doing very well. Okay, possible obsolescence of products and services. Kodak, people have heard. What happened to Kodak? They are number one. Have you seen a film now? There is no film. Okay, so they were not alert and they think to go to digital cameras. They felt they can survive. They were number one. There is nobody to meet them, nobody near them and all. They just closed. Kodak, which is such a successful company, closed down because of product obsolescence. There is a lot of examples of it. Okay, there are other reasons which could trigger going concern. Non-compliance with regulations. Typical example is Pollution Control Board. You know, Pollution Control Board has got enormous power. If they come and inspect you and you are violating pollution laws, they can just order closure of the factory. Period. They've got enormous powers. Okay? They are the one who should be feared and going concern. All others you can do appeal and all nonsense. There is no appeal. You have to go to High Court and it will take time. Okay? So Vedanta had a plan in Tuticorin. Okay? There was nothing which is there. There was an agitation saying that it is causing pollution, illusion, all kinds of things. Okay? They have got certificates saying that it is within the norms and all. But Pollution Control Board decided, because of the government, they said, okay, close it. You're in appeal. You're in appeal in court and other stuff. So the pollution control board has enormous powers. Even the laws and regulation could be an issue. Okay? Quality. For instance, if you are in a food industry, if the food is not up to the mark, the product can be discontinued. We have got a classic example of Nestle. The major product was discontinued and took 6 months, 7 months to revive. Okay? So this could be an issue, significant litigations. Because you go into litigation and if it is a big amount and you cannot get it refunded by someone else, that could be an issue. Okay? Changes in law, regulations and government policies would adversely affect you. Okay? The last one, which is given as an example, uninsured or underinsured catastrophes when it occurs. Okay? So it could be an example. For instance, I used to stay in Thane in Mumbai. There used to be a hospital. Okay? That hospital was ransacked because one of the political leaders who got admitted died within 1 day. The whole hospital got ransacked. It belongs to Raymond's, Trust of Raymond's. They were not insured for riots. They never thought they will lose the whole hospital machinery, everything due to a riot. They were insured for fire, floods, all kinds of things. They have not done a riot insurance on their things. Okay? Then they felt that the entire thing has to be replaced, the cost will be very high. So unfortunate, a great, good hospital got closed. They said, we can't run it. We can't put everything again with a new price and other things. We will not run it. So they closed it. Just because of some rioting which took place. Not the general rioting, because somebody who got admitted, he died. Those followers of that person came and ransacked the whole hospital. They got closed. The whole hospital got closed. So it could happen because of underinsurance. They are not insured for riots. It got closed. So there could be all kinds of reasons. So it's not just saying that financial issue could be the reason for going concern. Now, management assessment. Now, what is the management supposed to do? Management has to be for a period of 12 months from the date of the financial statement. It will consider the mitigation plans if required, if there are issues. It should consider the impact of the plans and whether it will improve or ensure at least no deterioration of the things. All these things, it has to be a very extensive study, not just some paper and then say, I'm going to get this money and then there will not be any problem. It has to be an assessment which is clearly looking at the various factors and forming a reasoned opinion that the going concern is appropriate. This will apply whenever there are issues. When there is no issue, it should be easy for the management to do assessment. Okay? Then probability of them happening. For instance, the holding company giving money. What is the probability? Or private equity coming in and funding it. Has the private equity has promised you, in the first phase itself, I will do 1, 2, 3 years, I will put the funding. There is a commitment. If there is no commitment, then there is a challenge. Okay? So the management has to do all these reasonable estimate. It may include cash flows, including any external funding. Okay? If there is an external funding, there should be a support for the external funding. What is the auditor has to do? Auditor has to do something more if there are issues. There are trigger issues which we have looked at. They have to do something more. They have to do an evaluation of the management assessment. Okay? Then they have to examine all the evidences available. For instance, he raised a very important point. I have got a comfort letter from the holding company. Comfort letter is a piece of paper which cannot be enforced by law. It gives you the intention of the holding company, but it is not a commitment to give and which could be enforced by law. Okay? So it has got its thing. Suppose the company has they have given a guarantee for all my loans. That's a big commitment. Okay? So there is a big commitment. So we have to look at it. What is the evidence? What is the supporting evidence? Is it reliable or not? Appropriately, we need to ask for additional evidences or additional support. Okay? Now, you have to check it out whether there is a material uncertainty or not. Okay? There could be a material uncertainty. But doesn't mean going concern is absent. Because as I said, the patient is in ICU. So the ICU can have a record of 70% of the guys who have gone to ICU has come back alive. Only 30% of the people died, suppose. So the probability is very high. There is a material uncertainty, but it could still continue as a going concern. Okay? So that could be a thing, but it has to be disclosed. So what it requires is you have to conclude whether there is a material uncertainty as an auditor. It's a matter of judgment. It is not easy. I can tell you that. Okay? It's a matter of judgment. Then, second thing is, has the management disclosed this material uncertainty with full details? It is a responsibility of the management to disclose the material uncertainty and why they continue to assume that the going concern is valid assumption for preparation of financial statement. It has to be put in the form of a note. Clearly the reader has to understand, look, this is the reason why it has been prepared on a going concern basis. If the disclosure is adequate, now the auditor, if the disclosure is adequate or not, again you have to make a judgment in your view. Okay? These are the two things the auditor has to do, material uncertainty and the disclosure is adequate or not. Then whether the going concern is not appropriate. That could be a matter of judgment. Then report as per SA 570. Okay? 570, what does it say in the reporting? We'll deal with this. This is a technical requirement. I'll go to some practical things in the end. If going concern is followed and auditor's opinion, it is inappropriate. Okay, we have concluded the company cannot survive. Today somebody is finalizing Jet Airways accounts. Today. If they prepare accounts on a going concern basis, what will you do? What will you do? We have a lot of things in public domain. Is it appropriate or not appropriate?
It is inappropriate.
It's inappropriate. So you will give an adverse opinion. Actually the standard doesn't allow even disclaimer, okay? They say give an adverse opinion because they say the fundamental assumption is wrong. So you don't know what will happen in the financial statement. So they say give an adverse opinion. The format, I am not going to the format, it's clearly there in the format what we should do. We have to just say, in the other thing, we have to say that accounts are not giving a true and fair view, period. That's what the adverse opinion is about. Okay? Now, second chance. If the going concern is followed and the auditor concludes there is a material uncertainty. Okay? This is the first point. In that there are two stages. One, even with the material uncertainty, if the disclosure of the material uncertainty is appropriate. Okay, that is one. If the disclosure is inadequate. Okay, there is a second point. And the first thing, material uncertainty exists. The auditor has to say whether the material, whether the going concern is acceptable or appropriate. If it is not appropriate, the first thing, adverse opinion. If you believe the going concern is still appropriate, but even though there is a material uncertainty exists and there is appropriate disclosure, the auditor has to give a separate paragraph on material uncertainty. Okay, that paragraph I reproduce, it's there next page. Okay, and if he concludes that the disclosure is not appropriate, okay, there are challenges. If the disclosure is not appropriate, this material uncertainty paragraph will come. In addition to that, if the disclosure is fundamental to reading the financial statement, if he believes that it is so important, okay, and the thing is not adequate, he has to give an adverse opinion on the financial statement. Because he says without this, the financial statement is not readable. However, if he believes the disclosure is there, but it still could be better, he could do a modified opinion with the qualification saying that disclosure is not adequate. Okay, something like that. So there are the two options which are allowed. It is a matter of judgment.
The director's report.
Huh?
Disclosure means the management will disclose.
Yes, in the financial statement. Financial statements. Okay. Financial statement will be disclosed. Okay. You will give a disclosure and say adverse opinion if you believe that disclosure is fundamental to read the financial statements. Okay.
No, disclosure means it has to be in a paragraph in the director's report from the management.
No, in the financial statement. No. It has to be in the financial statement. No director's report. It has to be in the financial. Anything to do with going concern has to be in the financial statement. Because you are reporting on financial statement, not a director's report.
So it has to be the notes, is it?
Yeah, notes of financial statements, clearly. Okay. So, by and large, you will find a lot of companies disclosing the fact because The moment you have material uncertainty, it is evident. Everyone knows from the financial statement itself there is a material uncertainty. So they will be willing to disclose the material uncertainty with auditor's report. Okay. So we have actually evolved in this according to me, because this law has come, the bankruptcy law has come. Bankruptcy is nothing to do with, otherwise they will say you put in the audit report, it will adversely affect. All those things have nothing to do with my report. Now it is all there. If you don't pay, bankruptcy law kicks in. It has nothing to do with my financial statement actually. It is to do with your ability to repay, and if you have not repaid, it kicks in. Okay? So there is lesser resistance to the disclosures, lesser resistance to the audit report. I think with all the things happening as an auditor, we will be in a better position to sell these things if there is a material uncertainty. So the thing which happens, which is an issue, is if things happen very fast, there is an issue. Happened during the financial statement, within 6 months something happens. So it could happen, the way things are, it could happen. Okay? So highly leveraged company and all this stuff. So there are challenges. But at the end of the day, auditors and the financial statement has got a limitation. Okay, has got a limitation what it can do. Okay, this is the paragraph of material uncertainty. This is the standard format which is being given. Okay. So if you look at it, there are notes. The note has to contain all the details of what has happened in the thing, what is the plans. It could be a very detailed note. It has to be a detailed note. It has to vary. You cannot put a standard note. It has to vary depending on the company, depending on the situation. Okay. Well, informally, we have to ensure that it is drafted properly.
So
okay.
we will help them draft.
Help them to draft. Because we need to be convinced the note is appropriate. Okay. There are challenges. The only thing which I have always come across is the material uncertainty wordings. They say that I can't avoid that wordings. Now I say, look, I can avoid it or not, but I cannot avoid. If you don't put it, I have to qualify for that. So
the emphasis of matter is no longer existing now.
This is actually an emphasis of matter actually. But it is emphasized, it is taken away from emphasize and put as a separate paragraph. If you read the last sentence, our opinion is not modified in respect of the matter. So it is actually, technically, it is still an emphasis of matter paragraph. But instead of putting only an emphasis of matter paragraph, we are highlighting, because this going concern is fundamental assumption. They say, look, you put it as a separate paragraph. So even today it is an emphasis of matter paragraph. If you look at the thing, I am not modifying my report. So it is an EOM, technically an EOM paragraph on going concern. It has to be specifically stated. Okay?
So when we say that detailed disclosure, yes, what are the things it should contain? It should contain, say, the items that indicate the going concern being absent, and then what is the management's plans to overcome that? So both should be there.
Yes. Because the management, these are the plans to overcome the going concern and cash flow issues. The management believes that it is reasonable, it will happen. And because of that reason, management believes that the going concern is concludes that it is appropriate. So all those things should be there. Okay. It can be put sometimes. But it's a challenge. If they have actually tied up, it's easy to make. If it is not in state, if it is all in fluid state, it has to be clearly disclosed so that the reader understands what is the state. Okay? Because going concern is a lot of disclosure. Because you can't say point blank that it is going to close. You don't have the judgment thing, it will continue. Okay, but the reader has to understand what stage the material uncertainty is so that he can take a call. Because if he is going to commit himself to the company in form of investments, it's for him to decide. Okay?
So we say that we feel there is a material uncertainty and therefore there is a significant doubt on the company's ability.
Yes.
Last paragraph says we are not going to change your opinion with reference to going concern.
Yeah. So that is what I saw. It's a very tricky thing. It's a tricky thing. See, you have to ensure that there are plans, the plans are reasonable and the material, and even though there is an uncertainty, like I tell you, classic example of something happened to one of our clients that I was doing with me. It's the power sector. There are 3 or 4 projects. So as per their plan, after the 4th project is over, they will make money, they will make profits. So on the third project itself, they actually defaulted. Okay? So, but they showed us the cash flow, they showed us all the power purchase agreement, everything, it's all doing well. And the bankers were there on the board, they concluded, no, we will ensure that it is there. Because it is bankers' interest, the company continues as going concern. Because otherwise they lose the whole thing. Very simple. So we just put the this paragraph, and we wrote a big note on how the company is going to, what is the cash flow and all those stuff. Okay? So he said, look, I have already passed 1 year, it's already there, it's running well. Okay? So it's a matter of judgment. It's a matter of judgment. See, this is what the standard says. You cannot give guarantee going concern for the next 1 year. You are not giving a guarantee. You are looking at it that point of time, the day in which you are looking at the most, that from this day, yes, it will still tied up, it will be working for say another 1 year. On that basis, this has been prepared. So the reader, that should be enough. So to conclude it is inappropriate, it's a challenge, it's not an easy thing to do. You may be held up. See, that's a problem to conclude it is inappropriate. You need to have strong evidence to show that it is inappropriate, they cannot survive for 1 year. How will you create evidence for that? So it's a big challenge. So does it mean, see, the going concern was always, see, I told you, right, it's easy. For instance, when something goes totally wrong, you know it's not going to survive, the probability is very low, you say it's not appropriate. Okay, and disclaim or give an adverse opinion.
Especially for plants.
Huh?
In overseas, when you want to finalize a PPA,
Yeah.
the initial discussions would not have discussed about transmission arrangements. Suddenly the other guy, the government which is the sole procurer, I will sign the power purchase agreement only if you agree to create transmission infrastructure to evacuate power, which is a killer of the project.
No, that's what I'm saying. So these things are, especially the power sector, see, they are not honoring the commitment to pay. Many of the power companies are not surviving. They have not paid the power dues which they promised. They collect from you, they swallow that things in their expenses. They have not paid the power producer. It's happened in many states. Many states it has happened. They did some exercise, they cleaned up about 3 years back with the bond and all those things, with I bond and other things. But the power sector, states which have reformed their power sectors are doing well. Those who have not reformed, still there are problems. The state and center, both subjects. So there are issues in power sector. So as far as the auditor is concerned, the disclosure is very important in this. Okay. See, if you have done this, for instance, it's so difficult to say that it is there. Tomorrow the company, somebody can take the company and run it. We don't know. Unless we have got evidence, it's very difficult for us to conclude it is not appropriate.
So as of the date of signing the franchise, because of the material uncertainties being so serious,
Yes.
can you take a safer position for yourself and give an adverse opinion?
There are two things. As an auditor, you are hauled up from both sides. I'll just give an example. Not even an example, this is what happened with SEBI. You know, the SEBI, we have something called FRRB. Okay? In between, the institute has formed another meeting, another thing, a modified opinions review board. You know what happened? SEBI used to send all the reports to these boards, which are formed by the institute, and they have to conclude the qualification has been done properly. Because what happened, the companies went and told the SEBI, boss, this auditor is wrongly qualified. When the SEBI asked them, they said it's wrongly qualified. In fact, one of the cases went to disciplinary committee, one of the partners of the firm told my partner made a mistake and all. So it is an issue. If you make a wrong qualification, it can affect the company. So you have to be careful with the qualifications. So when you got evidences, at the most you will say, I am unable to express an opinion whether this is appropriate or not. Okay? Even though it is not there in the standard. Okay? This SS 570, there is no option for disclaimer. But if you disclaim, I am not sure whether somebody will raise any objection. You can go and prove, look, the thing is such a way, I cannot give an adverse opinion, but I cannot give an opinion that it is appropriate. So I will say I am unable to express an opinion. It is possible, but it is not there in the 570, okay? But it is there in the normal reporting. You can fall back on the normal reporting, you can do that, possible, if you are on that. Okay.
So are we answerable to SEBI or institute?
Which one?
Are we answerable to SEBI or other external?
Of course, if you are a listed company, you are answerable to SEBI. No, this happened. I was part of the thing. This happened. I didn't want to part of that group. I said, I don't want my members to think. I want to. The members are qualified. It's correct. I said, but it happened with a specific instruction to the member, the board saying that whether they are qualified correctly. If they are not correctly, you have to send, and then they are sending notices to the auditors. Why did you qualify incorrectly? So you can be beaten up both ways because the company doesn't comply. See, very simple thing. This is a very sensitive issue. Going concern is a very sensitive issue. If you go and give an adverse opinion, and the management subsequently proves that what you have said is wrong, they can haul you out because he said what you have wrongly reported, because of that I had suffered. Okay, so you have to be careful in reporting. We cannot take a very conservative stance and say adverse. Okay, that's what I said. If you give an adverse opinion, you should have evidence to prove that going concern is not appropriate. So if the management comes and say it is appropriate and you say it is not appropriate, then it is on you to prove it is inappropriate, that the management is wrong. So it's a challenge. Our business is not, we can be ordered from both sides. Okay. You cannot be happy that I have qualified. You can only offer why you qualified only. It's happened. SEBI had sent. And the purpose of the thing is to check whether they are correctly qualified.
But the same SEBI or MCA is following up Deloitte's and
They will come back to you if you are not
intelligence not being done under for IFRS.
No, that's what I'm saying. You will be beaten up from both sides. Then you can be avoided qualified. Okay? So, okay. Now, this is what is the topic, okay? Now, this is not there in any of the accounting literature. If you go and see how to prepare, if your client says, I am closing down, tell me, I don't want you to qualify my financial statement, tell me how to prepare the financial statements. I don't know whether you have come across a company where it's closing down. Okay? So, this is what is to be done.
Sorry sir for interruption.
Yes.
You showed one example of there is a doubt but disclosure is alright and therefore one report is shown.
Yes.
Can you show where the disclosure is inappropriate and that?
I have not got it. I can open and show it. It's there in the standard itself. It's there. It's there in the standard. There are two varieties. If the disclosure is so important, you may have to give an adverse opinion. If you believe, okay, disclosure is not there, but it is not so fundamental, you have to qualify, saying that the disclosure is not made. Okay? So it's there, I have not opened it. If you get time, I will open it and show you. It's a long one, it's 2 pages, 1.5 page it is. It's not a small one, it's a 1.5 page thing. So I have not put it there, I open it with time is there, I will see there. Okay? This is the one which I want you to look at it, because this is not there in any accounting literature. Okay? You go and tell her I will qualify. The client will come and say, now tell me how to prepare a financial statement. Whatever you want to do, I will do it. Then this is what it should be done. Okay? If the going concern is absent, or I have decided to prepare the account not on a going concern basis, now what we should do? Now, if the company is still in operation, for instance, sales, purchase and all is there, then you need to follow the accounting standards to the extent relevant. Okay? Second, all the assets have to be written down to their realizable value, because when you are not on a going concern basis, you are going to sell the assets to realize. So the realizable value should not be on a going concern basis. This realizable value is different from the realizable value which we are considering the accounting standards. Okay? For instance, if it is, suppose you have got an inventory, net realizable value. That net realizable value is based on a going concern basis. If you read the standard, it is very specific. I am in the business, if I sell this as inventory, I will get it. But if I am closing down, I am closed down, I am going to sell my inventory. So the value which I will get will be much less. Okay, it will be much less. For example, one of my clients had done some furniture, so my cousin was, they have discontinued the product. It is lying there in their ground. So I told my cousin to ring them up. So they said, it is there in Hosur, you come and take it, okay? You have to take the charges. Literally they told me, we will give you free. Because they are finding there, they can't find out it is lying there, it is occupying the space. Okay, if you want to take it, take it. Okay, zero value. So that's a realizable value is zero, because you are actually incurring storage cost. You want to save it on. So realizable value on a closure basis will be much less. Okay, so that is the realizable value you should take. Okay, all the liabilities have to be stated as if they have to be settled immediately. Now this has got a connotation. For instance, you have got an employee benefit. Normally you will do an actual valuation of retirement benefits, leave and other things. You can't do an actual valuation if it is not on a going concern, because actual valuation assumes that it will be paid over a period of time, there will be attrition, there will be all those kind of assumptions. Here we are talking about an accrual basis that it has to be paid immediately. So you have to accrue that amount. Okay? And suppose if you have got a loan, you have to repay. You may have a prepayment charges, you have to accrue the prepayment charges. Okay? So those things should be done. All provisions have to be made for any closure expenses like labor, leases, government dues, tax cases, etc. Okay? This is something very important. If you are preparing an account on a closure basis, what will you have to pay? Okay? All those things have to be provided for. Okay? These are all extra things which you might not have provided for in the normal course. You may have to still provide. Suppose you have a factory where you promise that you will have a factory in a particular place and run it for 10 years, and suddenly in the 5th year you are closing down. You might have got the things at a very cheaper price. So they say you may put the lease rentals which you have paid on a concessional basis because you are violating the law. You are violating the terms. So you have to pay. Okay? Or you may have a contract for a lease period of say 5 years. You are vacating after 2 years. So 3-year rentals may be payable because you have a period in which your compulsory period in which your lease has to continue. So all these things have to continue. All these things have to come to your balance sheet. Okay, these are the additional entries which have to come. Or even closing the company, there could be various expenses on company law. All of them have to be accrued because you are preparing on a closure basis.
So okay, before tax asset, it has to be expensed.
Which one?
Before tax asset.
No deferred tax asset, nil. Because you are not going to buy it subsequently. Deferred tax will get reversed and you have a tax income. So you are not going to have a tax income in the future, it has to be done.
Okay. And also, suppose your submission as per your filing and the department's assessment, if there is a difference, you have to go by the adverse situations, like higher amount of it.
Yes. If you want to close it, you will have to provide and pay the taxes. Most of the companies which I am auditing, I have got 3-4 cases, they have continued the company without anything with the tax cases. No, we will file the tax cases. Because we don't want to pay unnecessarily, we believe that we are correct. The tax guy has just put some claim, so I will ensure they have got enough cash which is put there, kept there. So once the cases are fought, we will close the company. Okay, there are companies which is, many of them are like that, because our cases and all not easy. You cannot just pay and close it because you will find it's thing there. So you find somebody to run the company, keep the company, chartered accountant can fight the cases, they will fund it, parent company will fund it, anything. So it could be there. Okay, the most important thing is the detailed disclosure on the basis of preparation of the financial statements and clear-cut note that this has not been prepared on a going concern basis, because fundamental assumption on going concern is not followed, correctly not followed. Okay, but you have to disclose it. The reader has to understand why it is not followed. Okay, these are the main thing which has to be done if you have to prepare the financial statement which is not on a going concern basis. This is not there anywhere. Because I had hunted around this for many clients and we have worked out and then said this is what it should be done. I have already done 4-5 accounts like this. Okay, if this is done, okay, the standard doesn't apply. If you read the standard 570, that does not deal with this situation where the accounts are not prepared on a going concern. The standard deals with all the situation other than. So if this is done in this manner, now what we should do? Should we qualify? What we should do? It's just
disclosure. Disclosure that it is prepared, not as a going concern. That's how it is.
Our report should not be qualified because it gives a true and fair view, because it is prepared on a going not on a going concern basis. It is disclosing the true liability, true assets. Okay, so there is no problem with true and fair view. It may not follow the accounting standard because accounting standards do not apply to a non-going concern, because it applies only to the going concern. To the extent accounting standards are relevant, it should be followed. Okay, so there is no need of a qualification. So what we need to do is, if the accounts are prepared in the manner indicated earlier, auditor's report should include an emphasis of matter paragraph referring to the notes and highlighting it is not prepared on a going concern basis. Because the reader has to understand that it is not prepared on a going concern basis. You just want to highlight it to the reader, it's not to be qualified. Okay? So this is exactly what is to be done in a going concern fully absent company. Okay? It's so simple, it's not very difficult. Okay? So this is what is to be done. Okay? The problems which happen is the trigger of going concern is there, the issues, is the material uncertainty, what to do. Okay? Now, if you want, I can discuss some case laws. And I will show you 5 minutes that report which is to be done, kind of thing. Now tell me what to do in this case. I got 2-3 case laws to see whether you are understanding the subject.
You will have to ask for management's assessment.
Okay.
And then if required,
emphasis of matter.
So at the most you will have appropriate disclosure. There will be, anyway default means it will come into your audit report. Cover requires the default to be there generally. Okay. Now if you believe that the default will be rectified in a short period of time and there is enough evidence to show that the cash flow will be there, this happens in many companies. It happens in many companies, kind of a thing. Okay. So something is delayed. So may not be a case of a material uncertainty, but it is a clear case of some disclosure in the financial statement. In fact, the earlier standard had this kind of situation and said, "We please disclose these things." Okay? Okay. But now the current standard deleted that. So one other thing is only disclosure in the financial statement. This could be a fit case where there is only disclosure in the financial statement. The earlier standard had it. Okay? When they revised the standard, they removed that. And they say everything you put a note in the audit report.
So temporary cash flows, how do we know it is temporary? Because we are
No, that is what you have to, that's what you have to ensure that it is temporary. You have to have appropriate evidence to show it is temporary. It is not a trigger which will follow.
because we will be focusing only on the 12 months, financial year 12 months related cash flows, profitability, business, etc. So based on that, if there is a negative cash flow, net current liability kind of a business situation, then whether it has got a good business or not, unless we stretch the analysis beyond 31st March.
No, you have to make a judgment whether, you have to make a judgment it is only temporary and it will be rectified. enough evidence. Okay. Otherwise, we have a situation of this bankruptcy thing. It could be triggered also. You don't know. Now, if it is an MSME, yeah, there will be a restructuring which is allowed. But we have to ensure there is an appropriate evidence is temporary, it will be rectified. It is not a material uncertainty. Then we can have a note. If you believe it could result in a material uncertainty, you could have an emphasis of matter without a material uncertainty.
Many companies say, perpetual purchase order book is in my related party company, because most of the end customers, if I, being a new one, have to enroll, then going through the rigors of empanelment will give me only lower scores. My related parties have been doing business for longer years and they have got a better score, and therefore their order book is full. So it means many companies get orders only from related parties, not from external authorities and customers at all. So in that context, whether it is a conduit for your related party or really you are doing business, we don't know. So in that context, it will be very risky.
Well, the situation we are in, when in doubt, have something in the audit report. For instance, this kind of a situation, you need not put a material uncertainty paragraph. I think stops you putting a UIM paragraph, putting a note and referring the UIM.
Sir, is this not material?
Even though it is not required by the standard. Standard says only if there is material uncertainty.
Sir, is this not material uncertainty? Is a part of CAM's key audit matters?
No, the moment the moment a material uncertainty paragraph comes, it should not be put in the CAM, because already there in the report. Okay. If you see the auditing standard on the CAM, it specifically says that if you have got a material uncertainty paragraph, if you have got a EOM paragraph, if you have got a modification, that should not come in the CAM, because you have already looked at it. It is already a CAM which is reported, so you don't duplicate it. That's all. Okay. CAM is one where there is no mention elsewhere in the audit report. If you want to a simple thing. No EOM, no qualification, no modification. Those items will not come in CAM, because they will already come into the report. Okay. CAM means you have done that audit, you have concluded everything is fine. If it is not fine, you would have already put a EOM or a modification and all. So it's already treated like a CAM. Okay. So that standard specifically deals with these things. So if there is a material uncertainty paragraph, it will not come as CAM, because it is already come in this material uncertainty. We discussed a lot extensively on power sector. I'm sure a lot of power companies are still in this situation. Lots of power companies. Okay. This is not black and white, it's a grey area. Okay. So it requires a lot of additional audit evidence, it's a lot of support. Definitely you have to put a note in the financial statement. Is it a material uncertainty or going concern? Is a matter of a judgment. Okay. We may conclude there is a material uncertainty, but still going concern is appropriate. Okay. So I would say it falls in that bucket. It's a matter of judgment. You do a lot of additional things. This is actually a practical example in many of the companies are in this stage in this power sector. Many companies are in this stage. Okay. They have defaulted but still not treated as NPA. I don't know how.
So it is uncertainty, but
going concern is appropriate. That could be the reason. This we discussed. practical. Huh? This is a practical example of what happened to many of these telecom companies. Okay. Now we got lesser telecom company what we had 3 years ago, 4 years ago. They are all either closed. For instance, classic example, Supreme Court said the license given was wrong. That's it. All the companies have to close down. Okay.
But of course, those companies have not started any operations. Cancellation of licenses.
No, some of them had. Okay, so even Tata Tele had some circles, but they closed down that circles. But the other companies, they didn't start, but they had invested a lot of money in infrastructure. They lost all of the money. They had to sell their infrastructure at a pittance to many people. Okay. Any other questions? I will just show you some reporting which it's not there in this. Okay, it's not there in this. Basically, you can refer to 570. There is an appendix. So there is separate reports where you express where you have a modified opinion on disclosure and the material uncertainty paragraph. Modified in the sense it's a qualified opinion. There is another report which says you give an adverse opinion on the non-disclosure and this material. It's there. It's a big paragraph, so I didn't reproduce it. It's a very big paragraph. It's there very clearly. The thing is a matter of judgment whether you want to give an adverse opinion or you give just a qualified opinion for non-disclosure. Because if you believe that there is absolutely no disclosure, you may actually give an adverse opinion. Because the management is supposed to disclose, they can disclose. But the management has given the disclosure, but they have not used the word like material uncertainty, but they give all the factual things. They may give only a qualified opinion, saying that it has not been disclosed appropriately. That's it.
There was some guidance or some technical this thing from 2012 of the old 570.
No, forget all FI70 because there is this fundamental change in SA 570 because the old standard was like this. The old standard was emphasizing a lot of thing on the disclosure of material uncertainty in the financial statement. The old standard said if there is a material uncertainty and there is appropriate disclosure, which is according to you is appropriate, nothing need to be done in the audit report. That was the standard, okay? And then it went one step further. If it is so important, you put an emphasis on matter paragraph. That's what it said. Okay? Only when, in case where the going concern is not appropriate, it said give an adverse opinion. That was the thing there. So the standard has fundamentally changed. If there is a material uncertainty, there has to be some reference in our audit report now. Previously it was not there. So long as the disclosures are appropriate, there was no need to draw attention in our audit report. Unless we felt it is so significant, you can put a EOM paragraph. Now what has happened is there is no EOM, the same EOM is there, but they say you bring it as a separate paragraph, but it is a must wherever there is a material uncertainty exists, even though the disclosure may be appropriate, but you still put that paragraph. Okay, if the disclosure is not appropriate, they say you do additionally qualification or adverse opinion in respect of the disclosure. Okay, so it has become more...
Still the wordings remain the same. We draw your attention to and finally we say we are not qualifying.
In this case it's the same. If you see the adverse opinion it is different. In this case, it makes a lot of difference. It has come as a separate paragraph in your audit report. It's highlighted. See, what you write is not important. You just put in a highlight paragraph, material uncertainty in respect of going concern. Enough. What is down is not important. The guy who reads it, material uncertainty of going concern, period. All others are only just some sentences which are there already in the financial statement, you are putting it there. Okay. So, the thing which has happened as a separate paragraph with bold letter and heading, that makes it fit. Okay. That's a significant change. That's a significant change. So any reader will not be able to miss out, will not miss it out. Okay.
Sir, if a company doesn't follow going concern, we discuss the preparation of financials and the valuation of assets under liquidation method. So we will insist the management appoints a registered valuer to value the assets and give a report.
No, I think it's a matter of your judgment. It's a matter of your judgment. For instance, if you are going to do a detailed down value and if it is not significant, you may not insist on it. The management estimate will do. They may have some quotations, they may have various things. Okay? So they can do that. If you believe the value is significant, yes, insist for an independent valuation.
No, management will always say book value minus say some 2% you take, that's the...
No.
There is no loss.
No, management has to produce you evidence they will be able to sell. See, if I ask me what I told you, if there is a steel bill, I said what is the price of a steel? If it's so many kgs, that should be the value of realizable value. That's what I say. What is the junk steel which is given, waste steel or something? How much is sold? Say that is a value for your steel, your machinery. There is no value because you have to sell it as a junk. Your inventory should be almost nil value. Unless you can show it is a thing which could be useful for someone else and you will buy it. Okay. Very simple. All these cases, postpone the audit, ask them to realize the money, put it there in the balance sheet. Okay.
They become non-compliant with reference to filing the return.
No, that's fine. I'm just telling you, as a sort of practical thing, if it is possible, if they have decided in advance, it is not, you have to use the judgment, I would say. Suppose if it is a significant land which is there, how will you do it? Yes, I'm sure there should be a valuation. Okay? So valuation, you cannot wait. If you have to sell in distress sale, the value will be lower. So it's basically a distress sale valuation. So I would say you get a valuation if the assets are significant. Generally what they do is they sell off those assets and then they do quickly, because the moment you decide to close, it's not worth retaining the assets will fall in value, you have to maintain the assets. So they act very fast. Especially multinationals I have seen. They have decided to close, they just close it. Within a matter of 6 months they close. They normally close it. It's not something unusual for them closing business. Because if it's unviable, they close it.
If you see in Bombay, many textile mills, even though there are no operations,
Yeah.
when it's there, the company will also be alive. It will not have been struck off the register. There will be no operations.
No, I have not dealt with something which in practice I have found out. So I have got companies which there is one set of things, substantial reduction in the operation is also going concern issue. So the year in which these operations are all reduced, you will prepare the assets on a closure basis or a non-going concern basis because it's all to be put at realizable value. But many times I have seen companies with a lot of cash in their account, cash in their balance sheet. Then they continue the company as it is with those assets and do some investment for some purposes and they change the character of the company. Then possibly after 2 years it becomes a going concern. I have actually removed the going concern thing because it has converted into a different company. And as a small company it is still a going concern for that and it's a lot of cash. I have actually removed going concern note after 2 years, after the main business was shut down and everything was sold off and that the company continued in a different manner. So this is a practical thing that could happen. If you are good with cash and you don't want to close it and use it for some other purposes. So they change the business and services and other things they started doing. So it is possible. Okay?
Where is the difference which we can identify between where going concern is inappropriate and where material uncertainty is there and then disclosure is okay?
It's a big challenge. As I told you, it's a big challenge. Going concern, inappropriate is a thing where you need to put there is clear evidence to show that the company cannot survive. Okay? As I told you, even in the liquidation proceedings which are there under the law, The banks want to sell the company as a going concern, not as a distress sale. Very obvious, because as a distress sale, you will get nothing. For example, this power sector example which I am showing, the banks are fighting tooth and nail to the RBI, saying that no, you need to do. They force the central government to go and file a case, the borrowers to file a case against RBI, and that's how this happened. RBI saying that circular is invalid, and they succeeded. The Supreme Court said the circular is invalid. The RBI back to square one, they have to do the thing. So the banks want to sell the assets and a going concern. So I would say it is there. For instance, I told you Jet Airways today, but Jet Airways 2 years back, there is a material uncertainty. But if I find that in March 2019 accounts, inappropriate. Okay, it's very clear these cases, but there could be cases where it's not easy. I'm telling you.
So any default in remitting your provident fund and the employee dues, I mean, for conservative amount of time, can we treat that as a?
It's clearly an indicator. It's a clear indicator. For instance, for a classic case, Kingfisher Airlines.
Why Kingfisher, sir? Western Crompton, when it was sold from Sanmar to this UB group, I think under both situations, Fraser and Ross or the Deloitte were the auditors. But it was found out that there had been a lapse in remitting this statutory dues only after the UB acquired that.
See, if there is a mistake or they have not done it and it was separately found out, is it due to the, see, if the non-payment is intentionally because of cash flow issue or otherwise it's an important thing. I have missed it out. For instance, I was discussing something with the chairman here on labor law. He was telling labor law. There is a gross violation of labor law in many cases where if somebody works extra, he is not paid double the wages. As though labor law, they will pay only the same amount. For instance, if a security works instead of 8 hours, 12 hours, he is paid wages for 12 hours. He should actually be paid wages for 16 hours. Okay, anything more than 9 hours, they will pay. So they don't pay. There is something which is going on, kind of thing there. But I don't think these days the violation is there in respect of PF because it's enormous. It's a criminal offence that the directors can be prosecuted. I think that's the last thing people default. Last item, they may not pay wages, they will pay the PF. Okay. Yeah, it is an indication of going concern if it arises because there is lack of funds. That is a clear indication. It may be material uncertainty, may not be material uncertainty. In the totality, you look at it. You cannot look at it in respect of one or two payments.
There is a 3 months outstanding, then we can definitely look at it as a going concern issue, right?
There is a going concern issue.
It cannot be a slip.
Yes, there is a going concern issue. See what happened? There is a going concern issue because your cash flow, there is an issue. You have not prioritized those payments. You have not paid it. Okay, but there is an issue. There is an issue.
Consequences are very severe. So
Yeah, and if you have done in respect of PF, means you are desperate. So to the extent it is bad because the consequences of non-payment of TDS and TDS, so at least you can do that, but the non-payment of PF is a offence which the directors can be prosecuted. Means the cash flow issue is severe. You can look at it that way.
Sir, I want to put a scenario like this.
Yes.
All along, if something goes wrong afterwards, auditor was being questioned what the auditor was doing.
Yeah.
Now with this presentation, with this disclosure, is he in a better position to defend?
So it is. So, but see, most of the companies where this is a position where there is clear-cut indication of a going concern. Now, what is happening now is there is no indication of a going concern. Suddenly, within 6 months of business fails, there is a challenge. They say what the auditors are doing, but it could go wrong. So the auditor is not responsible for business failures.
That's the point.
Okay, it's not responsible for business failure. For instance, you cannot. For instance, even here, I put a emphasis on a paragraph like this and say we are not qualifying because that is a circumstance. You cannot after 6 months the company has failed. You cannot be defaulted. No, the situation deteriorated more than what you would have expected. See, we are not reporting on the future. We are not reporting on the future. We have to be very clear. I think if somebody comes, I think there is a false notion that if the auditor has reported the business failures, auditors should have reported. It is not. I think we need to go on there. We are not reporting the future. We are reporting on the state of affairs on a particular day. For that, assets and liabilities, how it should be disclosed, we are looking at the future of a going concern. That's all we are looking at. If the future, for instance, future say that this has resulted in some drastic losses, you can close down. I am not giving a certificate on company will be surviving and all this stuff. We are not giving. Because there is a perception issue, the reality. Yes, there is a perception issue. Because what is happening is, unfortunately, the business failed. For instance, so many NPAs have happened, and so many projects have gone wrong. Now, what we are not looking at whether the project is viable or not. We are here to report if the project has become losses, the losses have been disclosed properly or not. And going concern at a particular point of time, whether the going concern is appropriate or not. So we have got our limitation in respect of reporting. That's what we are reporting. The perception is
something we can.
Yeah, it's very difficult to do that. I think we need to educate them. We are not giving certificate of going concern. We are not giving certificate of going concern. Okay? We are looking at the going concern issue to ensure that the assets and liabilities are stated appropriately. Okay, very clear. The assumption of going concern for preparation of the balance sheet is appropriate. That is what we are looking at. By putting the thing, it is appropriate, we are not saying that the company will continue as a going concern for 12 months. We are not certifying. Okay, we have to be clear in our mind so that we can go and tell everybody.
If a comfort letter is not, say, reliable, then what else evidence can justify we taking a call that it is still a going concern? It can be prepared under going concern?
No, that's what I told. If you are not comfortable, put material uncertainty and say it's still appropriate. So you brought on the disclosure that they given a comfort letter. So the person who is reading it knows it is not a committed thing, but it is expected, it's more than probable, and there is a material uncertainty exists. If that doesn't happen, this may be inappropriate. It's not easy, it's a matter of judgment. Over a period you know whether it is correct or not. For instance, if somebody has promised you a loan, I will not rely on it. If there's a very simple, what we look at it in terms of the holding company giving comfort on this, is it necessary for the holding company that this company continues? Okay, so this company may be making losses, but the holding company, very simple thing. For instance, there is a company which services the machinery sold by the holding company. It is necessary for them that this company survives, even though it is making losses, because it is, otherwise it will affect their business. So they have definite intention or interest in ensuring this company survives. Okay? Or this company is making an important raw material for their product. It's necessary this company continues. Okay? Otherwise it will be an enormous cost for them. So then you should look at the other reasons why you believe that the comfort letter, the holding company will do the thing. Or ask for other correspondence. What is the kind of thing, what is the thing they have done in the past? And how much is the amount involved? Is it a huge amount or it's a smaller amount? So all those things matters. So I have done both. For instance, you are telling comfort letter. I specifically asked for another thing. They said, we will not give comfort letter. Just I went and put this note. I actually told them that in those days this standard was not there. I actually qualified and I referred. I disclaimed whether it is appropriate or not. Because the holding company was not willing to give a comfort letter. I said that's a clear evidence that you yourself are not looking at it as a going concern. You yourself are not 100% owner is not willing to give me a comfort letter. So he is not willing to put the money on this company, so it could not survive. So it's not appropriate. So you have to look at it, it's not easy. But I think the moment you have put this material uncertainty note, I think we are protected in a way. We have said, look, we have warned you there is a material uncertainty. The balance is a judgment. So you cannot tell that someone puts money onto the company where there is a material uncertainty. I would think twice. I'm going to invest in this company so much. I don't think it's a clear warning for anyone who wants to invest there or who wants to give additional credit. So the existing creditors have already done that. They know there is a material uncertainty. So I think we are protected by putting this specific note, which has now come as a separate paragraph. It is highlighted. Okay. So then they cannot go back and tell something which is. And afterwards, it could still be different. It could still be different. Okay. In fact, if you read the sentence, there is a sentence there. Subsequent events may prove that this assumption may not be correct. Okay. It's there in the drawings, in the audit report. So people have to read it. So we have to propagate that this is a report, please read the report. We are not educating people to read the report. We are just going by a newspaper report. So everybody can say, anybody can say anything in this country. Okay. I think it's needed. It's kind of
Educating the public.
Yes, we need to educate. I think the institute is a great thing to educate. They cannot go and tell that we are giving this certificate, we are giving this thing. We are not giving a certificate on going concern for next 12 months. Let us be very clear in our mind. We have absolutely no qualification to do that. We have got a limited purpose. Whether this financial statement has to be prepared on a going concern basis or closure basis, for that purpose, we believe the next 12 months as a going concern is an appropriate assumption to prepare this basis. That's it. Not more than that. My assumption can prove, I'm not saying it's a going concern. I'm not giving a certificate of going concern.
The situation is like that only, but because there is a support continues to be in the same condition. So how many years continuously you can keep saying that it is uncertain?
But in olden days, I have seen, I put this thing 2-3 years and all. But now I don't think so. 1 or 2 years, afterwards it will become accurate. It will automatically become, either it will become a going concern or it will become inappropriate. So, now I would say this also could come because it is not in the standard. Unable to express an opinion could come because what is happening is we are not sure of certain legal things. For instance, even bankruptcy proceedings. Now somebody has gone to court, somebody is opposing it, somebody is going through a lot of processes which is prolonging. Okay? So what do you do in that situation? You cannot conclude a certain time. So possibly even a disclaimer could come, even though it is not specifically in the standard. The general standard has got a disclaimer option. So I fall back on the general standard because the specific standard doesn't address the situation. You take a position. I think we need to protect ourselves, we need to see what is appropriate in the court. But I would say that the things which are happening is that if something happens very fast, then that's a challenge which we are facing. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Now I request our chairman, C. Sivaram sir, to come and sit on the dais and present a memento to the speaker. Thank you so much for your valuable insights, sir.
What was the topic which you chose? You chose the topic.
So members really had valuable time of yours and the session was very interactive. Thank you so much for your time, sir. And before we conclude, a couple of announcements. So ICAI has given one important announcement that it has been changing to digitalized platform. So from May onwards, checks and DDs will not be accepted by any of the branches or regional, any of the regions also. So for that, it has requested its members to please update membership number, in the update email ID and phone number as a one-time activity, so that the next platform will be ready. So from next month onwards, so it will not be having any this one. So it wanted to create a self-service portal, so where forms, applications and transactions will be done online. So it makes the things easier and faster. So please update your membership, update your phone number and email ID and validate it. And one more thing, like any of the members' queries or students' queries. So first suggestion is, in ICAI app there is e-Sahayata service. So wherein you will get quicker response, not to in Bangalore branch or in ICAI regional, southern region. So if you use that e-Sahayata facility, so it's in ICAI app also, e-Sahayata feature on the ICAI website also. You will get quick solution for it. If you still didn't get it, then you can call up Bangalore branch. There we have decentralized officers, so working from weekdays, Monday to Friday. So your queries will be resolved quicker. If still they are not able to process your queries, then you can reach out to Southern region. So they will also help. So first solution is go to e-Sahayata feature. So students and members queries. So we are Bangalore branch. So being managing committee members elected from members for the purpose of looking after Bangalore branch members and students, we have taken so many initiatives at Bangalore branch. So you can have a look at our website and Bangalore ICA app. So it's very much interactive, and so it's day to day we are updating so many features. So please make use of facilities available. And last but not the least, so please register yourself for the upcoming Bangalore branch seminars, like one on this Saturday, 20th April. So recent changes in GST impacting real estate industry. So one day seminar that is called Vidvat Sabha. So venue is there is a change of venue. Previously there was the venue was scheduled at Lecture Hall, Shasakara Bhavana near Vidhan Sabha. So since because of election code of conduct, the venue has been changed to FKCCI building, KG Road. So please make a note of it, and please, if you are not registered, it is one of the wonderful seminar where you can register, where you will get recent changes, updates on GST impacting real estate industry. And also one more seminar followed by this on next Tuesday, 23rd April, for GST annual return and annual audits. So GSTR 9 and 9C. This is also very much helpful for our members, since the due date for filing the annual returns and it has become live in GST website. So, and the due date is June. So you can plan well in advance so that your work will get faster. Please register yourself if you are not registered, and make use of the facility. So, and tomorrow being voting day, election day. So vote tomorrow for better India. So please make your office staff, your members, everyone to be elected. So thank you so much for your valuable time.